All right, so are you ready? Today, we're going to dive deep into learning English.
Dive deep.
We're looking at this video script called How to Start Your English Learning Journey. And I have a feeling this is going to be super helpful for anyone out there listening who wants to get started. Start that journey.
Yeah,
Because I know it can seem overwhelming, right?
it can. Yeah.
Like, where do I even begin?
Right.
But that's what we're here for. We're going to break it all down, make it feel achievable.
Yeah, that's right. And this script, it like right away, it hits on something really, really crucial. Defining your why.
Oh, your why.
It might seem simple,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly powerful.
I like that. I like that.
Why do you want to learn English? What is like the driving force behind, wanting to do this?
Yeah.
What's the fuel?
It's like setting that GPS before you go on a road trip. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there.
Exactly.
And this actually reminded me, this whole why thing, it reminded me of when I tried to learn Spanish. And I just kind of had this thought like, oh, it'd be cool to speak another language.
Oh, yeah.
No real goals, no like driving force. Just like, oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, my Spanish is still pretty much stuck at hola and gracias.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's actually, there's science behind this too. Research shows that if you have a clearly defined purpose, like a strong why, you're way more likely to succeed.
Oh, wow.
It's tapping into, like intrinsic motivation, like the stuff that comes from within
Yeah.
that keeps you going, even when it gets tough.
Yeah, I like that. So finding your why is like building the foundation, like you're building a house.
Exactly. It's the foundation.
Okay, so we've got that.
Yeah. What's next?
So what's next? What do we build on top of this?
So the script suggests, tackle the basics, like
Right.
the alphabet, common words, pronunciation, the building blocks.
Okay, but let's be honest. Starting with the alphabet feels, I don't know, a little elementary, right?
Yeah.
We're not in kindergarten anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But, it's about laying a solid foundation. Think of it like you wouldn't build a skyscraper on sand.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
You need a strong base. And revisiting these fundamentals and actually reveal nuances
Yeah.
that maybe you missed before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you feel like, oh, I kind of know the basics, it's still worth revisiting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, the script dives into like, English learners often have a lot of challenges with vowel sounds.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many subtle variations.
Yeah.
Like the A in cat is totally different from the A in father.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see how that'd be tricky.
Yeah. And the script suggests, like, pay close attention to how native speakers shape their mouth when they're making these sounds. Like, mimicry can be a really powerful tool, but to really understand the sounds, we could even consider looking at something called the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA.
The IPA. Okay, now that sounds pretty intense.
It might seem a little daunting at first,
Yeah.
but it actually gives you a visual representation of each sound. So it takes out the guesswork.
Okay, so we've got our foundation. We've got a handle on the pronunciation.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next on this roadmap?
Well, it's time to tune those ears.
Okay.
Because the script emphasizes the importance of listening comprehension.
So it's not just about hearing English. It's about like actively listening and understanding.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
The script recommends starting with materials that are, kind of easy to understand, like children's stories or podcasts for beginners.
Yeah, those make sense. What about something a little more engaging though?
Well, there's a wealth of content on YouTube,
Right.
Specifically created for English language learners.
Okay.
Like 2 channels that I often recommend are Easy English and Learn English with English Class 101.
Okay.
They explain things clearly and use visuals, which can be really helpful.
Yeah, visuals are key. I remember when I was learning French, watching movies with subtitles was like a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, does the script talk about using those for learning?
It does touch on that a little bit later, but
Yeah.
there's something interesting that it highlights about listening comprehension. It can actually boost your confidence in speaking.
Oh, really? How does that work?
Well, think about it. The more you're exposed to like the rhythm and intonation of English, the more comfortable you become with the sounds and the patterns.
Right.
It's like your brain is slowly absorbing the music of the language. which then makes it easier to produce those sounds yourself.
That makes total sense. It's like listening to a song over and over again. Eventually, you just start singing along.
Exactly. And that leads us very nicely to the next step, speaking up.
Okay. But the thought of actually speaking English out loud already kind of makes me a little nervous.
I get it. I get it. But the script really encourages you to start speaking from day one, even if it feels a little awkward at first.
Yeah.
The key is to just start,
Yeah.
even if it's just to yourself.
So like talking to the mirror.
Exactly. The script also suggests using apps like HelloTalk or Cambly, which connect you with native speakers to, practice conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, those sound helpful. But what if you make mistakes?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of terrified of sounding silly.
Yeah, so that's where I think we need to kind of shift our perspective a little bit.
Mhm.
Mistakes are actually a crucial part of learning. In fact, research shows that the people who are okay with making mistakes actually tend to learn languages faster.
Oh, wow.
It's about embracing that process of trial and error.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Every time you stumble over a word or a phrase, your brain is actually forming new connections,
Hmm.
getting closer to fluency.
That's actually really reassuring.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about vocabulary.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like such a vast mountain to climb.
Right?
Like how do you even start?
Yeah, it can be daunting. But the script breaks it down into a more manageable approach.
Okay.
Recommends focusing on learning, 5 to 10 new words each day.
Okay, that sounds a lot more achievable than trying to like memorize a whole dictionary.
Right. And to make it even more effective, the script suggests focusing on words that are related to your why.
Ah, okay.
So if you're learning English to travel, start with travel-related vocabulary.
Okay, that's a great tip. It's like packing for that road trip, you know? You don't need your whole wardrobe, you just need the stuff that you need for where you're going.
Exactly. It's about being strategic,
Yeah.
learning the words that will actually be useful to you.
Okay, so we've covered listening, speaking, vocabulary.
Yeah.
So what's next on this English learning adventure?
Well, get ready to put pen to paper because the script encourages us to explore the world of writing.
Writing, honestly, that always feels like the most intimidating part to me.
I understand. I understand. But, the script suggests starting small.
Okay.
Think about everyday tasks like, writing in a journal or making a to-do list
Yeah.
or even composing a simple grocery list.
Yeah, those don't sound too scary.
Exactly. The idea is to gradually build up your writing skills and your confidence.
So it's like training for a marathon. You wouldn't start by running, 26 miles. You'd build up to it slowly.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's about starting with what feels comfortable and then gradually pushing yourself further.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Like building that foundation, listening, speaking, expanding vocabulary, and now writing. It's like we're constructing a whole language learning toolkit.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore even more tools and techniques
Okay.
to help you on your quest to mastering English.
Okay, so we're back and ready to like unearth more of these treasures from this How to Start Your English Learning Journey script.
Yeah.
In that last part, we talked about like those building blocks and, facing those pronunciation fears.
Right, right.
But I'm curious, like what other insights does this script offer?
Well, it brings up a really interesting idea, I think. One that I think is often overlooked. It's the concept of incidental learning. Have you ever heard of that?
Incidental learning.
Yeah.
Not really. What is that exactly?
So it's essentially learning that happens outside of like a formal setting.
Mhm.
It's like picking up information without even, realizing that you're doing it.
Okay. Okay. I think I get it. So it's not about like sitting down with a textbook.
Right.
It's about like absorbing the language, just like in everyday life.
Exactly. Think about all the times that you're exposed to English, but you're not actively studying.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
watching movies, listening to music, even just scrolling through social media.
Right. Right.
Those are all opportunities for incidental learning.
So instead of feeling guilty about like binge watching my favorite show, I can tell myself I'm actually learning English.
Well, there's a little bit more to it than just passively consuming content. The script emphasizes the importance of like active engagement
Okay.
to really make that incidental learning effective.
Active engagement. Okay. So how do I turn those movie nights into something, a little more educational?
Yeah, it's about being more intentional with your consumption.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're watching a movie, try to pick out new words or phrases that you hear. Jot them down. Look them up later.
So it's like turning on the subtitles in my brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can apply that same principle to music too.
Right.
Instead of just letting the melody wash over you, pay attention to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Try to understand the meaning of the song.
That reminds me of when I was learning Spanish. I would always try to sing along to my favorite songs, even if I, didn't understand all the words at first.
That's a perfect example of active engagement.
Cool.
And the script even suggests something as simple as like changing the language settings on your phone or computer to English.
Oh, that's a good idea. It's like creating a little like English immersion bubble around yourself,
Exactly. And let's not forget about social media.
right?
Following English-speaking influencers, joining online communities, engaging in conversations. These are all fantastic ways to just expose yourself to authentic language.
It sounds like there are so many ways to just weave English into your everyday life.
Yeah.
But with so many options, like how do I make sure I'm actually like retaining what I'm learning?
That's where the concept of spaced repetition comes in. Have you ever heard of this?
Spaced repetition.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. So it's a technique that involves reviewing material at like increasing intervals,
So it's not just about like cramming a bunch of information into my brain all at once.
right? It's more about like strategically spacing out your review sessions.
Okay.
So let's say you learn a new word today,
Yeah.
you review it again tomorrow, then in a few days, then in a week.
So it's like planting a seed and then nurturing it over time so it can like grow strong.
That's a great way to put it. And the good news is there are apps that can help you do this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they'll track the words you're learning and remind you when it's time to review them.
That sounds really helpful. I'm all about making things easier and more efficient.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about incidental learning, we've talked about spaced repetition. What other gems does this script have in store?
Well, it dives into a concept that I believe is fundamental to language learning success.
Hmm.
It's the idea of learner autonomy.
Learner autonomy. Okay, that sounds a bit intimidating. What does that even mean?
Essentially, it's about taking ownership of your learning journey.
Hmm.
It's about being proactive, setting your own goals, choosing materials and methods that resonate with you,
Mm.
and monitoring your progress.
So it's not just about like, blindly following a textbook or a teacher's instructions. It's about like being in the driver's seat.
Yeah, exactly. And the script makes a really compelling case for why learner autonomy is so crucial. When you're actively involved in shaping your learning experience, you're more likely to stay motivated and engaged.
Yeah, that makes sense. If I'm genuinely interested in what I'm learning, I'm more likely to, stick with it.
Exactly. And this applies to all aspects of language learning.
Yeah.
You know, let's say you're passionate about cooking.
Okay. Yeah.
Why not explore English through that?
Yeah.
Through the lens of cuisine.
Ooh, yeah, like that.
You know,
Yeah.
You could try reading recipes in English, watching cooking shows,
Yeah.
maybe even attempting to write your own recipe in English.
Oh, I like that idea.
You see?
Yeah.
And the same goes for any other interest you might have. Music, travel, sports, technology.
Mhm.
Find ways to connect your passions
Yeah.
with your English learning.
So it's about making English like a tool for exploring the things I love rather than just like a subject to be studied.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
And as you cultivate that learner autonomy, you'll discover just a whole world of resources to support your journey. Libraries are full of English language books and magazines, audiobooks.
Right. And let's not forget about the endless online resources.
Exactly.
Like language learning apps and websites and YouTube channels. Like there's a whole treasure trove out there.
There is. And the key is to just find what works best for you
Right.
and create a learning routine that fits, your individual needs and preferences.
So it's about being like a language learning detective, like
Yeah.
experimenting, exploring, and finding the tools and techniques that work best for me.
Exactly. And as you embark on this journey of discovery, it's important to remember that learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
There will be challenges. There will be moments of frustration.
Yeah, it's like any adventure, right? There are going to be bumps along the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the key is to remember why you started this journey in the first place.
Mm.
Reconnect with your why, celebrate your progress, and don't be afraid to, ask for help when you need it.
So it's about embracing those ups and downs, celebrating the small victories
Yeah.
and remembering that you're not alone in this whole journey.
You got it. You got it. And with that in mind, I think it's time to take a quick break. Before we delve into the final part of our deep dive, stay tuned because we've got more valuable insights to share with you.
Okay, so we are back for this final part of our deep dive into English learning. We've really explored some pretty fascinating ideas from this script.
We have, yeah.
How to start your English learning journey, right?
Yeah.
From finding your why to embracing those, happy little learning accidents.
Mm-hmm. Even uncovered, like, spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition, learner autonomy. Like, it's amazing how much is packed into this.
I know. So much good stuff.
Yeah, it really is. So as we're wrapping things up here, like what other like nuggets of wisdom does this script, have for us?
Well, one thing it emphasizes is setting realistic goals.
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there, like getting super excited about a new skill and then like setting the bar way too high.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, tell me about it. I once decided I was going to learn to play the piano, like a consummate pianist. In 6 months, let's just say my neighbors were not impressed with my progress.
Yeah. It's so easy to fall into that trap, right?
Yeah.
Of like wanting to achieve fluency overnight.
Right, yeah.
But the script reminds us that language learning is a process. It's a journey.
So instead of aiming for that big, like daunting goal of fluency, it's better to like break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. Think of it like climbing a mountain, right?
Okay.
You wouldn't try to reach the summit in one giant leap.
Right.
You'd focus on one step at a time,
Mm-hmm.
enjoying the view along the way.
I like that. It's about making those small wins feel rewarding.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, instead of trying to learn like 1,000 words in a week, maybe you focus on mastering 5 to 10 new words each day.
Okay.
Or instead of trying to watch like a whole movie in English,
Yeah.
without subtitles, you could start with like shorter clips or scenes.
Okay. So it's about celebrating those mini milestones and letting them like fuel your motivation.
Exactly. Exactly. And speaking of motivation, the script acknowledges that it's not always going to be smooth sailing.
Oh, yeah.
All right. There will be times when you hit a plateau or you feel frustrated or you just, lack the energy to study.
Yeah. Those are the moments when it's really tempting to just like give up.
It's perfectly normal to feel that way, but the script offers some really helpful advice for navigating those challenging moments, First and foremost, it's about being kind to yourself.
Oh, okay. So like no beating myself up if I miss a day of practice or I'm like struggling with a grammar concept.
Exactly. It's important to acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah.
Of frustration or discouragement, but don't let them derail you.
Right.
Sometimes the best thing you can do is just take a break,
Yeah.
recharge, and come back to it when you're feeling refreshed.
Yeah. That's actually really good advice. Sometimes I get so caught up in that, the I have to do this perfectly mindset that I forget to like give myself a little grace.
Yeah. It's so important to find that balance between pushing yourself, and being patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And when those doubts creep in, remember to reconnect with your why.
Hmm.
Remind yourself of the reasons why you embarked on this journey in the first place.
It's like taking out that compass and reorienting yourself.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There's a whole community of English language learners out there
Mm-hmm.
who understand exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. It's like we're all on this big language learning adventure together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And connecting with other learners can be, so motivating and supportive.
Yeah.
Whether it's, joining an online forum, finding a language partner, or simply just sharing your experiences with friends. Remember to tap into that sense of community.
So it's about celebrating the wins, being kind to ourselves when we stumble,
Yeah.
and remembering that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. I really like that.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful way to approach it.
Yeah.
And as we reach the end of our deep dive here, I think the most important takeaway from this script is that learning English is not about, reaching a destination. It's about embracing the journey.
That's really powerful. It's
Yeah.
not about achieving some perfect level of fluency. It's about the process of growth and discovery.
Exactly. So enjoy the ride,
Yeah.
celebrate every milestone,
Yeah.
and never stop exploring,
Mm.
this fascinating world of the English language.
This deep dive it's been amazing. Like it's given me a whole new perspective on how to approach learning English.
Me too.
It really has.
It's been a joy to unpack these ideas together and share them with you.
And to all of our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to, embark on your own English learning adventure.
Yes. Remember, the world of English awaits. We can't wait to see where your journey takes you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.